Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the blue and green planet of Nexus Prime grow larger on the main screen. 3 years had passed since humans first met the Galactic Council, and Jake still felt amazed every time he saw an alien world. His crew moved around him with quiet efficiency, preparing for another routine diplomatic mission. "Captain, we're receiving docking instructions from Nexus Prime Control," reported Ryan Bell from the communication station. The young officer had joined the crew 2 years ago, full of excitement about exploring the galaxy. Like most humans, he believed the Council truly wanted peace and friendship. "Thank you, Ryan. Take us in nice and easy," Jake replied. He glanced at his science officer, Dr. Lisa Park, who was studying her readings with a slight frown. "Something wrong, Lisa?" "I'm picking up unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface. Much higher military activity than normal," she said, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "Could be nothing, but it seems odd for a diplomatic meeting." Jake nodded but wasn't too concerned. The Council had always been protective of their homeworld. Security Chief Amanda Gray moved to stand beside him, her hand resting casually on her weapon. Amanda never relaxed completely, which made her perfect for her job. The Defiance settled into its assigned docking bay without trouble. Jake gathered his diplomatic team, including Ambassador Karen White and Trade Representative Steve Johnson. They had done this dozens of times before. The Council meetings were usually boring affairs about resource allocations and trade agreements, but they kept the peace between humans and the dozens of alien species in the Council. As they walked through the gleaming corridors of the Council building, Jake admired the architecture. The walls seemed to flow like water, built by the artistic, luminary species. Floating platforms carried them upward past gardens tended by the plant-like Verdani. It was beautiful and peaceful, exactly what the Council claimed to represent. "The humans are here," hissed Chancellor Zextar to his aide as he watched the monitors in his private chamber. The reptilian Vorthak leader had been planning this day for months. His cold eyes showed no emotion as he gave the signal. "Begin the operation." Jake and his team entered the main Council chamber, a vast circular room with seats for representatives from 47 different species. The air hummed with translation devices that let everyone understand each other. High Arbiter Velthara of the Luminari floated in her designated area, her ethereal form glowing softly. Other species filled their sections: the massive rock-like Terrans, the graceful aquatic depth-dwellers, the mysterious energy beings called Flux. "Welcome, friends from Earth," Chancellor Zextar said in his translated voice. "We have much to discuss today." Ambassador White stepped forward with a smile. "Thank you, Chancellor. We're ready to review the resource allocation proposals and discuss the new trade routes through the Kepler sector." But something was wrong. Jake noticed that many of the Council representatives looked nervous. Some avoided eye contact completely. The usual friendly chatter before meetings was replaced by tense silence. "I'm afraid there has been a change in today's agenda," the Chancellor continued. "We need to discuss a more pressing matter: the security threat posed by human expansion." Steve Johnson looked confused. "Security threat? Chancellor, I don't understand. Our colonies are peaceful. We've followed all Council guidelines." "That is precisely the problem," Velthara spoke, her voice like singing crystal. "Your species adapts too quickly. Your technology advances too fast. Your people spread too eagerly. The Council has decided that humanity poses a long-term threat to galactic stability." Jake felt his blood turn cold. This wasn't a diplomatic meeting, this was a trap. He saw Amanda's hand move to her weapon, but alien security forces were already surrounding them. Energy barriers flickered to life, cutting off all escape routes. "You cannot be serious," Ambassador White said, her voice shaking. "We've been allies for 3 years. We've shared our technology, our resources, our friendship." "Yes, you have," Chancellor Zextar replied with what might have been a smile on his reptilian face. "And we have learned much from studying you. Your quantum computing systems, your bioengineering techniques, your military strategies. We know exactly how dangerous you could become." Alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the building. Ryan's Voice crackled through Jake's communicator from the ship. Captain, we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout Council space. Ships are moving toward all human colonies and Earth itself. The truth hit Jake like a physical blow. While they sat in this chamber, the Council was launching a coordinated attack on every human world. 3 years of friendship had been a lie. 3 years of trust had been used to map human defenses and plan this betrayal. The attacks have already begun, the Chancellor announced calmly. Your colony on New Denver is under bombardment. Liberty Station's defenses are falling. Hope's Landing will surrender within hours. As for Earth itself, images appeared on the chamber's main screens. Jake watched in horror as Council warships fired on human settlements. Orbital defense platforms exploded in bright flashes. Cities burned under alien weapons. 2 million people lived on New Denver. How many were already dead? You monsters, Amanda snarled, struggling against the energy restraints holding her. Those are innocent civilians. They are future threats, Velthara replied without emotion. We have run the calculations. In 50 years, human technology would rival our own. In 100 years, you would dominate this galaxy. We cannot allow that to happen. More reports came through the communicators. Earth's outer defenses were overwhelmed, the planet's emergency channels filled with desperate calls for help. But there was no help coming. The Council had struck everywhere at once, using humanity's own trust against them. We offer you terms, Chancellor Zextar continued. Complete surrender, transfer of all advanced technology to Council control, relocation of Earth's population to designated worlds under our supervision, accept permanent status as a vassal species, and the killing will stop. Jake found his voice. And if we refuse, then every human in the galaxy dies. We have studied your species thoroughly. We know you value individual lives over strategic advantage. You will surrender to save your people. The Chancellor gestured, and new images appeared. Human prisoners from the colonies, including women and children, held in Council detention facilities. The message was clear: surrender or watch them die. You have 72 hours to respond, the Chancellor announced. We will await Earth's answer. As alien guards escorted the human delegation back to their ship, Jake's mind raced. The Council thought they knew humanity. They thought humans would fold under pressure, trade freedom for lives, accept slavery to avoid extinction. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The UES Defiance lifted off from Nexus Prime as one of the few human ships to escape the initial attack. Around them, the galaxy burned with the fires of betrayal. But in those flames, something else was being born. Something the Council had never seen before and would never understand. Humanity had been sleeping. Now it was time to wake up. Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, General Patricia Hayes stared at the tactical displays showing the devastation across human space. The underground command center buzzed with activity as officers tried to coordinate what remained of Earth's defenses. Red lights flashed everywhere, indicating failed communications with colony worlds and destroyed military units. Status report, General Hayes ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Colonel Danny Price looked up from his console, his face grim. New Denver is gone, General. Complete orbital bombardment. We estimate 2 million casualties. Liberty Station went dark 3 hours ago. Hope's Landing is still fighting, but they won't last long. What about Earth's defenses? Outer perimeter is destroyed. The Council used our own navigation data against us. They knew exactly where every defense platform was located. Danny's hands clenched into fists. We trusted them with everything. Dr. Helen Ross approached from the weapons development section, carrying a sealed data pad. Her usually calm demeanor showed cracks of strain. General, we need to discuss Project Lazarus. Not here, General Hayes replied, glancing around at the busy command center. Conference room 3 now. The small group gathered in the secure briefing room. Besides General Hayes, the group included Colonel Price, Dr. Ross, and Intelligence, Director Nick Carter. The room's walls blocked all electronic signals, making it the most secure location on Earth. The Council thinks they've won, Dr. Ross began, activating a holographic display. They believe we'll surrender to save civilian lives. They're wrong about human nature. but they're also wrong about our capabilities. 3 projects appeared on the display. General Hayes had authorized them years ago, when humanity first encountered the Council. Even then, some military leaders worried about trusting advanced aliens completely. Project Lazarus has 3 components, Dr. Ross continued. First, the Quantum Entanglement Communication Network. We can talk instantly with any human anywhere in the galaxy, and the Council can't intercept or block these signals. She touched the display, bringing up technical specifications. Second, nanite swarm weapons. Self-replicating microscopic machines that can infiltrate any system and turn enemy technology against itself. And third, the zero-point cannon, capable of breaking down matter at the molecular level. Colonel Price whistled softly. How long have you been developing these? Since first contact, General Hayes answered. Call it paranoia or preparation. Right now, I'm glad we did. Nick Carter activated his own display, showing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. We're not as helpless as the Council thinks. Agent Sandra Cole has been working inside their bureaucracy for 2 years. She's transmitted their complete battle plans. The plans were worse than anyone imagined. The Council didn't just want to defeat humanity. They wanted to eliminate the species entirely. The surrender offer was a lie designed to gather remaining humans in one place for easier extermination. They're afraid of us, General Hayes realized. This isn't about current threats. They're trying to prevent future ones. Meanwhile, scattered across the galaxy, surviving humans began to regroup. Captain Jake Morrison had made contact with other ships that escaped the initial attacks. The cargo vessel Mississippi Queen, commanded by Captain Roy Adams, had been delivering supplies to Hope's Landing when the attack began. The research ship Aurora, led by Dr. Patricia Newman, had been studying quantum phenomena in deep space. This is Captain Morrison to all human vessels, Jake transmitted using the quantum communication system. We are not surrendering. We are not giving up. Begin Lazarus Protocol immediately. On Hope's Landing, former Marine Lieutenant Chris Taylor crouched in the ruins of what had been the colony's main city. Around him, 800 civilians and military personnel had survived the initial bombardment by hiding in underground shelters and natural caves. Lieutenant, we've got Council patrols moving through Sector 7, reported Sergeant Lisa Wade, crawling back from a scouting mission. They're not just occupying the planet, they're hunting survivors. Chris studied the tactical map they'd drawn on cave walls using charcoal from the burning city above. They want to make sure no one escapes to tell what really happened here. Too bad for them, we're not planning to escape. The survivors had been busy during the 3 days since the attack. Using salvaged equipment and human ingenuity, they'd built weapons from farming tools and mining equipment. More importantly, they'd discovered that the Council troops weren't prepared for guerrilla warfare. The aliens fight like they're following a manual, Chris explained to his makeshift squad leaders. They expect organized resistance or complete surrender. They don't know how to handle small unit tactics and hit-and-run attacks. That night, Chris led the first organized strike against the occupying forces. 12 humans armed with improvised explosives and salvaged alien weapons attacked a Council supply depot. The raid lasted 15 minutes and destroyed enough equipment to supply a battalion for a week. More importantly, it proved that humans could fight back effectively. The psychological impact on Council forces was immediate. Reports began filtering back to their commanders about ghost attacks and phantom raiders that struck without warning and vanished into the wilderness. Back on Earth, General Hayes established contact with the resistance cells using the quantum communication network. The technology worked perfectly, allowing instant coordination across impossible distances. Chris, this is General Hayes. What's your situation? 800 survivors in good fighting condition, Chris reported from his cave hideout. We've been hitting supply lines and communication posts. The Council garrison is getting nervous. Excellent. You're about to get reinforcements. Dr. Ross had activated the first phase of the nanite weapon system. Microscopic machines, smaller than bacteria, began infiltrating Council equipment across 17 worlds simultaneously. The nanites didn't destroy immediately. Instead, they learned, adapted, and prepared for coordinated activation. Captain, Roy Adams received new orders while hiding his cargo ship in an asteroid field. Roy, we need you to start disrupting Council supply lines. Use the quantum displacement system to hit targets they think are impossible to reach. Understood, General. The Mississippi Queen might look like a cargo hauler, but we've got some surprises of our own. The quantum displacement technology allowed ships to appear instantly at any location, bypassing normal space travel entirely. Roy's first target was a Council convoy heading to reinforce the occupation of Liberty Station. The cargo ships appeared among the military vessels without warning, deployed their weapons, and vanished before the Council forces could react. Dr. Patricia Newman's research vessel Aurora had been studying quantum mechanics when the war began. Now her peaceful research had a military purpose. General, we've discovered something interesting about Council communication systems. They use quantum entanglement too, but their security is terrible. We can intercept everything they're saying. Intelligence. Director Nick Carter smiled for the first time in days. Patch me into their command frequency. Within hours, human forces were reading Council battle plans in real time. Every troop movement, every supply shipment, every strategic decision was known to human commanders before Council officers received their orders. Agent Sandra Cole, still maintaining her cover within the Council bureaucracy on Nexus Prime, transmitted the most crucial intelligence of all. The Council is planning to use their ultimate weapon if humans don't surrender. They have a device that can destabilize stars. They're threatening to destroy Sol itself. General Hayes processed this information calmly. Then we need to move, faster than planned. Activate all Lazarus systems, begin the counterattack immediately. The countdown reached its final hours. In 72 hours, the Council expected Earth's surrender. Instead, they were about to face something no alien species had ever encountered. A fully awakened and angry humanity, armed with technology they couldn't understand, and driven by fury they couldn't comprehend. The sleeping giant was awake. Now, it was time to show the galaxy what happened when you betrayed humanity's trust. The Council's 72-hour deadline expired not with humanity's surrender, but with simultaneous explosions across 17 Council worlds. On Vorthak Prime, the Hegemony Fleet's main base erupted in flames as invisible nanites turned defense systems against themselves. Weapons platforms began firing on their own ships while communication arrays broadcast human victory songs. Chancellor Zextar stood in his command center, watching impossible reports flood in from across Council space. "How are they doing this?" he hissed at his military advisors. "Their fleet was destroyed, their colonies are occupied." Admiral Kethvar, the Vorthak military commander, studied the tactical displays with growing confusion. The attacks are happening simultaneously across thousands of light years. No known technology can coordinate at these distances. And the weapons they're using, we've never seen anything like them. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of what had been the Council dreadnought Retribution, captured during a lightning raid on the Kepler Station shipyards. His crew had worked miracles in 3 days, learning to operate alien technology and adapting it for human use. "Captain, we're approaching the Hegemony anchorage at Proxima Station," reported Ryan Bell from the navigation console. The young communications officer had become an expert at operating Council systems, using human intuition to understand alien logic. "Dr. Ross, is the zero-point cannon ready?" Jake asked. The weapon designer looked up from her improvised control station, her eyes bright with anticipation. "Ready, Captain. One shot should destabilize the molecular structure of anything within a 50-kilometer radius." Jake studied the massive Council fleet gathered at Proxima Station. 12 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, and over 100 smaller vessels. The entire Hegemony Reserve fleet supposedly safe in the most protected system in Council space. Fire. The zero-point cannon discharged with almost no visible effect. No bright beam, no dramatic explosion. The energy simply reached out and convinced matter that it didn't want to exist anymore. 12 massive warships and their escort vessels didn't explode or burn. They simply ceased to be, leaving empty space where moments before the Council's most powerful fleet had waited. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. Across Council space, Military commanders received reports that defied understanding. The mighty hegemony fleet, backbone of council power for 1,000 years, had been erased from existence by an impossible human weapon. On Hope's Landing, Lieutenant Chris Taylor received the signal he'd been waiting for. All units, this is Phoenix Base, begin Thunder Protocol. The 800 survivors emerged from their underground hideouts armed with weapons that shouldn't exist. Dr. Ross had used quantum displacement to deliver advanced equipment directly to the resistance fighters. Energy rifles, personal shields, and most importantly, portable quantum communicators that let every fighter coordinate perfectly with every other human in the galaxy. The Council garrison on Hope's Landing found themselves facing an enemy that appeared everywhere at once. Human fighters would materialize from thin air, destroy a target, and vanish before return fire could reach them. Worse, they seemed to know every Council movement before it happened. "Sir, the humans are intercepting our communications somehow," reported the garrison commander to his superiors. "They know our plans before we implement them." Dr. Patricia Newman smiled as she monitored Council frequencies from her research ship Aurora. The aliens' quantum communication system used the same principles as the human network, but with primitive security. Every Council message was an open book to human intelligence. Captain Roy Adams put this intelligence to devastating use. His cargo ship Mississippi Queen appeared without warning in the middle of a Council supply convoy, destroyed the escort vessels, and captured the cargo ships intact. The stolen supplies were immediately quantum displaced to human resistance cells across the galaxy. "This is impossible," Admiral Kethavar reported to Chancellor Zextar. "Human forces are appearing in our most secure systems. They're striking supply lines we didn't know they knew existed, and their weapons technology is advancing faster than our scientists can analyze it." The Chancellor's cold reptilian eyes narrowed. They were hiding their true capabilities. Everything they showed us was primitive compared to what they're using now. "Or they developed it all in the last 3 days, the Admiral replied. "Sir, I don't think we're fighting the same species that joined the Council 3 years ago." He was right. The humans fighting back weren't the peaceful explorers who had first made contact. 3 days of betrayal and slaughter had awakened something primal in the human spirit. Every destroyed colony, every dead civilian, every broken trust had forged them into something the galaxy had never seen. The climactic battle came at Bastion 7th, the Council's fortress world that guarded the approach to Nexus Prime. The planet's defenses were considered impregnable, built over centuries to withstand any conceivable attack. Energy shields that could deflect stellar radiation surrounded the planet. Orbital platforms mounted weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Underground bunkers held the Council's most secret military technology. Admiral Jake Morrison approached with a fleet of 200 human vessels, many of them captured and converted Council ships. The force looked pitifully small against Bastion. Souse's defenses, exactly as Jake intended. "All ships begin the demonstration," he ordered. The human fleet split into dozens of small groups, each one quantum displacing to a different location around the planet. The Council defenders found themselves facing attacks from every direction simultaneously, by forces that could appear and disappear at will. But the real assault came from weapons the Council had never imagined. Dr. Ross activated nanite swarms that had been infiltrating Bastion 7's systems for days. Suddenly, the planet's own defenses turned inward. Shield generators redirected their energy to overload weapon systems. Orbital platforms began firing on each other. Communication networks broadcast surrender orders in the voices of Council commanders. Within 6 hours, the impregnable fortress world lay defenseless. More importantly, human technical teams had captured the facility's central computer core, containing complete intelligence on Council force dispositions, strategic plans, and political structure. "General Hayes, this is Admiral Morrison," Jake reported through the quantum network. "Bastion 7 is ours. We've captured their entire strategic database." "Excellent work, Jake." "Dr. Ross, what did we learn?" The weapons designer's voice carried grim satisfaction. "Everything, General. Every Council world, every military unit, every secret base, and something else. The location of their ultimate weapon, the stellar manipulation array that can destroy stars. Intelligence Director Nick Carter processed the captured data with growing amazement. The Council's entire civilization is built on technological intimidation. They've never faced an enemy that could match their capabilities. They literally don't know how to fight a war against equals. Then let's teach them, General Hayes replied. The lesson came in the form of a message quantum displaced directly into the Council chambers on Nexus Prime during a full emergency session. Every representative from every species heard General Hayes's voice speak clearly in their own language. Members of the former Galactic Council, you attacked our colonies without warning. You slaughtered our civilians without mercy. You betrayed our trust and threatened our extinction. Now you face the consequences. Chancellor Zextar tried to activate security systems to block the transmission, but the human signal bypassed every defense. We demand the immediate withdrawal of all Council forces from human space. We demand reparations for our destroyed colonies. We demand the surrender of all military personnel involved in the initial attacks. You have 24 hours to comply. You cannot make demands of us. The Chancellor roared. We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. General Hayes's response was calm and terrifying. You were the Galactic Council. Now you're just another species that made the mistake of underestimating humanity. Look around your precious homeworld, Chancellor. Count the human ships in your sky. Consider that we're speaking to you from inside your most secure facility. Understand that nowhere in your space is beyond our reach. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. Through the transparent walls, they could see human warships materializing in orbit around Nexus Prime. The impossible had become reality. The newcomer species was dictating terms to their ancient civilization, 24 hours to surrender. The clock was ticking, and for the first time in a millennium, the Galactic Council was afraid. The Galactic Council faced complete collapse as member species began abandoning their ancient alliance. In the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, what had been orderly government for 1,000 years became chaos and recrimination. The aquatic depths dwellers formally withdraw from this council, announced Ambassador Tidal Current, her translated voice carrying shame and fear. We will not share responsibility for this catastrophe. Humanity offers us protection if we surrender immediately. Cowards, Chancellor Zextar hissed, but his authority meant nothing now. 3 more species had announced their withdrawal in the past hour. The silicon-based collective, the methane breathers, and the energy dancers all chose human protection over Council loyalty. High Arbiter Velthara of the Luminari floated in her designated space, her ethereal form flickering with distress. Chancellor, we must face reality. Our military is destroyed, our fortress worlds are captured, our communication systems are compromised. Perhaps we should negotiate. Never. The reptilian leader's eyes blazed with fury. I will not bow to these primitive mammals. Deploy the stellar array. If we cannot rule the galaxy, we will deny it to them. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center of his flagship, the UES Victory, formerly the Council Super Dreadnought. Inevitability. Around him, his crew monitored the chaos spreading through Council space as their civilization crumbled. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy buildup at Proxima Station, reported Dr. Lisa Park from the science station. It matches the signatures for the stellar manipulation array we captured data about. Jake's expression hardened. The Council was preparing to use their ultimate weapon, capable of destabilizing stars and destroying entire solar systems. Their target could only be one place. They're threatening Sol, he realized. If they can't defeat us, they'll try to take Earth with them. But Lieutenant Colonel Chris Taylor was already moving. His special operations teams had been studying the captured intelligence for hours, planning the most important mission in human history. 200 elite fighters armed with the best technology humanity could produce prepared to assault the most heavily defended facility in Council space. Remember, we need the array intact. Chris briefed his team leaders as they boarded stealth ships equipped with quantum displacement drives. Dr. Ross wants to study the technology, and we might need it ourselves someday. Agent Sandra Cole, still maintaining her cover within the Council bureaucracy, provided real-time intelligence as the human strike force approached Proxima Station. Security rotation changes in 15 minutes. Main power coupling is in Section 7, and Chris, the facility commander, just received orders to activate the weapon in 6 hours. The assault began with Chris Taylor's team materializing directly inside the station's reactor room. Council security forces found themselves fighting enemies who appeared from nowhere, struck with impossible precision, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. "Sir, intruders have penetrated Section 7, reported a panicked Council technician. "They're heading for the array controls." The station commander, a massive Terran named Stonecrusher, activated all defenses. Energy barriers sealed corridors. Automated weapon systems engaged. Elite Vorthak guards rushed to protect the stellar array. None of it mattered. Chris Taylor's forces moved through the station like ghosts, using quantum displacement to bypass every obstacle. When they encountered resistance, they didn't fight pitched battles. They appeared behind enemy positions, neutralized threats, and moved on before the Council forces could adapt. The climax came when Chris reached the array control room. The massive weapon was already powering up, its energy collectors drawing power from the nearby star. In 6 hours, it would have enough energy to reach across the galaxy and destabilize Sol, turning Earth's sun into a supernova. "Freeze that activation sequence," Chris ordered his technical specialist, Sergeant Paul Wright, a former engineer who had learned to understand alien technology through pure determination. "Working on it, sir," Paul replied, his hands dancing over the alien control systems. "These interfaces are weird, but the underlying physics are the same. Give me 5 minutes." They didn't have 5 minutes. Vorthak elite guards stormed the control room, their energy weapons blazing. Chris and his team took cover behind the array control consoles, returning fire with human weapons that punched through alien armor like paper. The firefight lasted 3 minutes and ended when Paul Wright activated the station's own security systems against the Council forces. Automated defenses that should have protected the array instead turned on the Vorthak guards, giving the humans time to complete their mission. "Array secured," Chris reported to Admiral Morrison. "We've got full control of the weapon, and Dr. Ross's technical team is studying how it works." But the real victory came when Paul Wright discovered the array's complete database. The weapon wasn't just capable of destroying stars. It was a research facility that had mapped every stellar system in the galaxy, including detailed information about Council worlds and their vulnerabilities. "Admiral, this is incredible," Dr. Helen Ross reported from her analysis station. "The array can destabilize any star in the galaxy with pinpoint precision, and the Council has been using it for centuries to maintain their power. Any species that got too advanced found their home star mysteriously going unstable." The implications were staggering. The Council's 1,000-year reign wasn't built on superior technology or wise leadership. It was built on the threat of stellar destruction, holding entire civilizations hostage to their ancient weapon. Jake Morrison made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Prepare a demonstration. The target was a red giant star in an uninhabited system, visible from Nexus Prime with basic telescopes. The stellar array reached across space with invisible energy, touching the star's core with calculated precision. The ancient sun, already unstable, collapsed and then exploded in a controlled supernova that painted half the galaxy in brilliant light. On Nexus Prime, every Council representative watched the demonstration through the chamber's observation windows. The message was unmistakable. Humanity now controlled the ultimate weapon, and they weren't afraid to use it. "Surrender now," Admiral Morrison's voice echoed through the Council chambers. "Or every Council world shares that star's fate." The response was immediate. Species after species formally announced their surrender to humanity. The crystalline entities offered to mediate negotiations. The Hive Mind Collective requested immediate protection. Even the proud Luminari admitted defeat. Chancellor Zextar found himself abandoned by every ally. His own military commanders refused orders, unwilling to fight a war they couldn't win. Admiral Kethvar formally surrendered the entire hegemony fleet, choosing survival over loyalty to a leader who had led them to disaster. "This is not over," the Chancellor snarled in a private transmission to his remaining supporters. "If I cannot Rule the galaxy, then no one will. Activate the final protocol. But Nick Carter's intelligence network was listening. Agent Sandra Cole intercepted the transmission and decoded its true meaning. The Chancellor had one last weapon. A quantum disruptor hidden in the council chambers themselves, powerful enough to destroy the entire complex and everyone in it. He's planning to take our negotiators with him, Sandra reported urgently. The weapon activates when he speaks a specific code phrase. Admiral Morrison and General Hayes are walking into a trap. The final confrontation was set. In 12 hours, humanity's leaders would meet with the remnants of the council government to formalize the surrender. But the meeting would be the Chancellor's last desperate gambit to drag humanity down with his dying civilization. The question was whether human technology and intelligence could defeat one last council trap, or whether victory would turn to tragedy in the ruins of Nexus Prime. The council chambers on Nexus Prime felt like a tomb, as Admiral Jake Morrison and General Patricia Hayes entered for the final negotiations. The vast circular room, once filled with representatives from 47 species, now held only scattered remnants of a broken government. Chancellor Zextar sat alone in the center, his reptilian form rigid with barely controlled rage. "You have come to witness the end of civilization," the Chancellor hissed as the human delegation took their seats, his cold eyes fixed on Admiral Morrison with pure hatred. 1,000 years of peace and order, destroyed by primitive savages who cannot see beyond their own revenge. General Hayes remained calm, her voice steady and professional. "Chancellor, we're here to discuss terms of surrender. Your military forces have been defeated. Your member species have abandoned your alliance. End this before more lives are lost." "Lives?" The Chancellor's laugh was like breaking glass. "You speak of lives after murdering billions in your rampage across council space? After turning our own technology against us? After demonstrating the power to destroy stars?" Admiral Morrison leaned forward. "We destroyed military targets and installations. Your forces targeted civilian colonies. There's a difference between war and genocide." Around the chamber, the few remaining council representatives watched in silence. High Arbiter Velthara flickered with distress, her ethereal form barely maintaining coherence. The massive Terran delegate Stonebreaker sat motionless as a mountain. A few minor species clustered together, clearly terrified of both sides. Agent Sandra Cole, still maintaining her cover as a council bureaucrat, monitored the proceedings from her hidden position. Through her earpiece, she could hear Nick Carter, coordinating the security arrangements. Dr. Helen Ross stood ready aboard the UES Victory, prepared to deploy countermeasures if the Chancellor activated his hidden weapon. "Your terms are simple," General Hayes continued. "Complete disarmament of all hegemony forces. Reparations for the destroyed human colonies. War crimes trials for those responsible for ordering attacks on civilians. And establishment of a new galactic government based on democratic principles, rather than technological intimidation." Chancellor Zexatar's eyes narrowed. "You dare demand trials? You, who have spent the last week destroying everything my species built over millennia?" "We destroyed a system built on fear and oppression," Admiral Morrison replied. "The weapon you were preparing to use against Earth, the Stellar Array, how many civilizations did you threaten with that over the centuries? How many species submitted to council rule because you could destroy their home stars?" The accusation hit home. Several of the remaining representatives shifted uncomfortably, clearly remembering their own species' first encounters with council diplomacy. The threat of stellar destruction had been the Council's ultimate negotiating tool for generations. "The galaxy needs order," Velthara spoke, her musical voice heavy with sorrow. "Without the Council's guidance, there will be chaos. War between species, competition for resources. The peace we maintained was built on a lie," General Hayes interrupted. "Peace through fear isn't peace at all. It's just delayed conflict." Chancellor Zexistar rose from his seat, his movements deliberate and threatening. "You think you understand galactic politics? You children who have barely learned to leave your own star system? The Council prevented wars that would have consumed entire sectors. We maintained stability that allowed civilization to flourish. by threatening to murder entire worlds if they didn't obey. Admiral Morrison shot back. That's not civilization. That's extortion on a galactic scale. The Chancellor's hand moved to a hidden device at his belt. Sandra Cole tensed, recognizing the gesture from her intelligence briefings. The quantum disruptor was keyed to activate when he spoke a specific phrase in ancient Vorthak. One word from him would destroy the entire complex and everyone in it. Perhaps you are right, the Chancellor said slowly, his voice taking on an ominous tone. Perhaps the age of the Council is over. Perhaps it is time for complete renewal. Sandra spoke quickly into her hidden communicator. He's about to activate the disruptor. Everyone get out now. But Dr. Ross was already moving. The moment Sandra's warning came through, she activated the quantum displacement field generators positioned around the chamber. Instead of evacuating the humans, the technology would redirect the disruptor's energy away from the chamber and harmlessly into empty space. Chancellor Zextar spoke the activation phrase in his ancient language, expecting to see the chamber dissolve in quantum fire, taking humanity's leadership with him. Instead, nothing happened. The disruptor activated, but its energy vanished into the displacement field, leaving everyone unharmed. The Chancellor stared in disbelief at his weapon, then at the calm faces of the human negotiators. Impossible. You could not have known about the disruptor. It was our most closely guarded secret. We've been listening to your communications for days, Nick Carter said as he entered the chamber with security forces. Agent Cole transmitted your entire final protocol to us hours ago. Sandra stepped forward, dropping her bureaucratic disguise. Did you really think humans wouldn't place intelligence assets in your government? We've been watching you since the day we made first contact. The revelation that humans had been spying on the Council from the beginning completed the Chancellor's humiliation. His species' supposed superiority, their careful plans, their secret weapons, all had been compromised by the primitive newcomers. You have won, he admitted, his voice hollow with defeat. The Vorthak Empire surrenders unconditionally. But General Hayes wasn't finished. This isn't about Vorthak surrender. It's about galactic reform. The Council system is finished. The age of rule by technological intimidation is over. Over the following weeks, the transformation of galactic civilization accelerated. Lieutenant Colonel Chris Taylor, now promoted to general, oversaw the establishment of a temporary government on Hope's Landing. The symbolism was intentional. The world the Council had tried to destroy became the foundation of a new order. The war crimes trials began immediately. Council military officers who had ordered attacks on civilian targets faced human military tribunals. Chancellor Zexitar himself was sentenced to life imprisonment. His empire dissolved and his species placed under protective custody until they could adapt to democratic governance. More importantly, the trials revealed the full scope of the Council's crimes over the centuries. Dozens of species testified about stellar threats, forced relocations, and technological suppression. The peaceful Council had maintained order through systematic intimidation and occasional genocide. Captain Roy Adams led the massive humanitarian effort to rebuild the destroyed human colonies. Using quantum displacement technology and resources seized from Council worlds, the reconstruction proceeded at impossible speed. New Denver rose from its ashes in months rather than years, its buildings incorporating both human and alien architectural techniques. Dr. Patricia Newman established the Galactic Research Institute, bringing together scientists from dozens of species to study and improve the technologies that had ended the war. The quantum displacement drive, nanite systems, and stellar manipulation array were no longer weapons, but tools for peaceful development. 6 months later, Admiral Morrison stood before the first session of the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from 63 species filled the Great Hall of Hope's Landing, including many civilizations that had been too afraid to contact the old Council. The chamber's walls displayed the names of every world destroyed by Council stellar weapons over the past millennium, a reminder of the price of unchecked power. The galaxy tried to destroy us because we were too dangerous, Admiral Morrison said in his opening address. They were right about our nature, but wrong about our intentions. Yes, we are dangerous, to tyrants, to oppressors, to anyone who would harm the innocent. The council fell not because humanity is evil, but because they were. The new government operated on principles the council had never understood. Democratic representation rather than technological intimidation. Open communication rather than secret threats. Cooperation rather than submission. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Dr. Lisa Park, now Director of Galactic Research, established the final memorial to the conflict. In orbit around Earth, a space station displayed the complete historical record of the Council War, including every message, every battle, and every decision that led to humanity's victory. The memorial's central chamber contained a simple inscription. They attacked us because they feared what we might become. In doing so, they ensured we became exactly what they feared. Not conquerors, but liberators. Not destroyers, but builders of a better galaxy. The story ended with a new human exploration. Vessel, the UES New Dawn, departing for the unexplored regions beyond former Council space. Captain Sandra Cole, the former intelligence operative now commanding humanity's next chapter of exploration, carried a message from the Galactic Assembly to any civilizations they might encounter. We come in peace, seeking friendship and trade, but we also come with the strength to protect that peace and the will to use it. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was never their technology or their tactics. It was their refusal to accept injustice, their